Welcome to the Ringer Gambling Show, sponsored by FanDuel. I'm the prop queen, Ariel Epstein, back better than ever. Missed last week, and I had so much FOMO from this group. Everyone was talking about our bodega locks. Everyone was talking about their favorite plays of the weekend. I felt like I was completely out of it. We're back. We're going to be better this week. We've got to make sure that we keep ourselves in the running for being the leads amongst all the Ringer people. And to help me do that, we've obviously got JJ, John Yastrzemski joining the show, Raheem Palmer also here. Happy Thursday, guys. Raheem, how'd you do last week?
Let's not talk about last week. We had a Monday game. I gave out some props to hit on Monday. But when I think about last week, I think about the Los Angeles Rams and how they
Me too.
spoiled it and gave me the worst bad beat of all time. So let's
That has to
move
be the
on
worst
and
of the
let's move
season,
forward.
no?
I mean, is there even a second place? Well, let's just think about this for a minute. This is where we are going to sound like the salty Bodega Locks team, but we're still in first place, so we're allowed to have the saltiness come out. We have, gang, been on the wrong side. I want everybody to know what games we've been on the wrong side of. Baltimore Buffalo, week 1. This crew had the Ravens. We know what happened in that game. Week number 2, we had the Arizona Cardinals. Remember the big lead they had against Carolina? I'll continue. Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. No, I'm not finished here, Ariel. Hold on a second. Week 2, remember? 4th down and 13. Houston Texans, that vaunted defense, needs one stop against Baker Mayfield to get us to cover. No, we lose in heartbreak and anguish and pain and disgusting fashion. But after all of that is on the table, and I detail it as eloquently as I possibly can, nothing will top the Rams. And the moral of this story is, Ariel, you and I had the same best bet last week. We need you here every week. When we don't have you together, this is what happens, Ariel. We have
Okay, it was my
Here's
fault.
the
My
crazy
fault
thing.
that I wasn't here. And
I'm
now we
just
lost.
trying
So
to
it's my
find a
fault that the
scapegoat.
Rams. My fault
I
that the
know.
Rams end up losing that game. And forget even losing. They're lining up to kick the field goal. I said, okay, great. We're going to cover. That's
Oh, it's
awesome.
over.
And
Correct.
y'all didn't even get into the other one. We had the Patriots last week. Brian Barrett gives us the Patriots. The Patriots dominate that game, and they have 5 turnovers, 2 inside of the 5-yard line, and they still have a chance to win.
But
So
as we said, though, Raheem, we're on the week 4, right? Like, hey.
On the
I
Cincinnati.
just want to point out that last week I went 2-2, and my 2 winners were the Browns and
The Jets?
nope, and the Bears. Browns and Bears were my winners last week, and my losers were the Rams and the Patriots. Like, I don't understand how this works. But anyway, we are on to week 4.
This is the Ringer Gambling Show presented by FanDuel, and the NFL is officially back. So if you're going to be in it with FanDuel. They've got the goods, futures, live betting, SGPs, your way bets, all of it. The app's clean, it's fast, and yeah, when you win, you get paid instantly, which is nice because Sunday patience doesn't exist. So get your bets in, build something bold, and make every game feel bigger. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com/gamblers to get started. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available and listen to the end of the episode for additional details. Must be 21 plus and present in select states or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Paid endorsement.
And we've got Thursday Night Football starting today. So Cardinals, Seahawks. I know before the show, JJ comes on and says, let's not spend a lot of time on this game. It sucks. They might be winning teams. The game sucks. It is Thursday Night Football. It always sucks. It finds a way to suck. That's why it's a 43.5 total. The difference, the spread did flip. So we went from Arizona being home favorites at -1.5 to then flipping over to +1.5 as home dogs. JJ, how much does that line move scare you?
So I think Seattle has become way too trendy and way too popular in this spot. Now, I understand what a lot of the head-to-head matchups are going to say. Seattle has gotten the better of the Arizona Cardinals rather consistently. They won both matchups just a year ago. I don't love betting on Kyler Murray. When you get the Kyler Murray experience, especially if you get it in a short week against the Mike McDonald defense, there's a lot of things that can frighten you. But I've really liked the way the Arizona Cardinal defense played in that game. I know they gave up a game-winning drive at the end of Mac Jones and the San Francisco 49ers, but as a whole, I think Jonathan Gannon's defense has played pretty well here. This is a hold-your-nose spot. I don't love the game, but to me, you're just getting Seattle at a point of where they're flexing. They had their win at Pittsburgh. They smoked the New Orleans Saints. Now they got to go on the road to play a Thursday night game. You know, I've been pretty good on these Thursday nights. We had Dallas in week 1.
Don't jinx yourself.
No, but that's why I want to preface it. Sunday we haven't been good, so we're trying to throw all the juju in the air. So maybe we reverse it. Who the hell knows? But gut feel, this line is a little bit of an overreaction. I would grab the 1.5 with Arizona. I don't love it. It's not my favorite play of the week. Nowhere close. We got to make a play. That's what we do on Thursday night. I'm taking the Cardinals.
So this line is extremely interesting to me because when I look at my model, I am at Seattle -1.5, which is where the market is now. And obviously, after that win last week against the Saints, you can understand the line move. But when you look at the preseason look-ahead line, this line was Arizona -2.5. So you have to ask yourself, how do we get from Arizona -2.5 to Seattle -1.5? And I think a big part of that is the overreaction to Seattle taking this New Orleans Saints team into the deep waters and absolutely drowning them. But we know New Orleans isn't good. So how do you make that adjustment based on what you saw last week? And I just don't know if that's warranted. Now, I don't know if I want to play Arizona because a big thing is you look at their games last year. Kyler Murray, 544 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in 2 games with a passer rating of 79. So he didn't play well against this Mike McDonald defense at all. So you're looking at that spot, and it's just like, all right, you have wide receivers like Marvin Harrison and Zay just dropping passes. So I don't know how I can trust this Cardinals offense. And then at the same time, you lose James Conner. You have a guy in your left tackle in Paris Johnson who missed last week's game. We don't know if he's going to play tonight. So I'm concerned about this Arizona Cardinals offense. And at the same time, I'm looking at Sam Darnold, and he struggled as well against the same defense. So I just don't know how to play a side in this one. If I had to lean anyway, I would probably go towards the direction of the Arizona Cardinals. But as far as the side, I'm staying away from it.
Raheem, I know that you like your models. Last week, we saw the same thing with the Bears, where the line ended up flipping. The Bears were favored at -1.5 home against the Cowboys. Line flipped to +1.5. Bears end up blowing them out at home, the Cowboys. So now with this kind of game, how does your model compare or differ from that line flip that we saw last week?
I just think my model is really accounting for recent data, and obviously the most recent data is you have a Seahawks blowout win. So I think that's what's prompting this line move. So I imagine other people's models have the same thing, but ultimately I just kind of have to stay away from the side on this one.
I'm going to go with a prop, obviously. I hate Thursday Night Football. I do love props in prime time. And Sam Darnold to go over his 223.5 passing yards prop intrigued me. He's only gone over once this year, and it happened to have been in his last road game against Pittsburgh. In week 3, Darnold completed 6 of 8 downfield passes for 146 yards and a touchdown. This season, Darnold has completed 64% of his downfield passes, second highest rate amongst qualified quarterbacks. And last year, Darnold threw for just over 2,400 downfield passing yards, 204 more than any quarterback. The Cards have allowed 323 passing yards downfield. That's 12th most in the league. So if we're going to get some deep throws by Sam Darnold tonight, who has the receivers to go deep, like Jackson Smith and Jigma, who's been insane with 40-plus yard catches this year, over in 4 to 5 primetime games last year as well for Darnold. So even though it was a different team in Minnesota, it shows the incentive to throw under the lights in the big game. Arizona's allowed the second most passing yards per game to quarterbacks. All 3 quarterbacks to face them have gone over their passing yards prop. We're talking Mac Jones, Bryce Young, and Spencer Rattler. Sam Darnold, at least last year, proved that he's a better quarterback than at least 2 of those 3. So give me the over on the passing yards for Sam Darnold tonight in prime time. Anyone have anything to say about it?
Yeah, you're banking on, though, this game getting a little wacky and a little wonky.
It's Thursday.
Are you insinuating, because I have a prop I want to throw at you. I
Yeah.
want to see if I get the prop queen stamp of approval on this. But are you kind of insinuating, Ariel, that we're going to have some more points in this game than maybe you'd let on by going with an over prop for Mr. Darnold? Curiously.
Could be, but the number also of 223 and a half is not high. So if you're looking at an over for 270 plus, then sure. 223 and a half isn't really that high of a passing yards prop. I just look at the receivers he has, and also the Cardinals do struggle against pass catching back. So if you're going to put Kenneth Walker into the mix of catching some balls out of the backfield, that's also going to add to some of those passing yards props for Sam Darnold. So is it equivalent to an over? Not necessarily, because it's such a low number in passing yards, and it's also accounting for the Cardinals as well. Can they put up points with being a one-dimensional, essentially, offense this time around?
Fair enough. All right, the prop I want to throw at you, and last week we hit 2 anytime touchdowns. We had Dalton Kincaid for Buffalo. We had Jalen Waddle for the Miami Dolphins. Can I entice Raheem Palmer and Ariel Epstein with a little Trey McBride at plus 180? Because Raheem, to your point on the Arizona wide receivers, Marvin Harrison Jr. is not daddy, okay? He's not his daddy. I watch him weekly. He drops passes like there's no tomorrow. There are 10 zillion great Ohio State wide receivers. He's not one of them. Sorry. Kyler Murray has a trust and a comfort level with his tight end. Ariel, you are the prop queen. I'm looking to kind of stack some Trey McBrides today. I'm going to play him over receptions. I think he's going to be heavily involved in this game plan. Can I get you on board?
Oof. So the only thing that I hated about this, I looked at McBride. He has 1 touchdown in his last few games against Seattle. And then last year in prime time, McBride had 1 touchdown in prime time. I don't hate it because the Seahawks are very bad against tight ends. They allow the most receptions per game to the position. What do you think about the red zone targets, though, Raheem?
I don't have much of an opinion. I'm going to be honest with you on that. Like, I think this game is just really tough for me. I think the one spot that I am kind of leaning towards, honestly, is I lean on the under. I'm looking at this game. It's 43 and a half. And I think I want to play the first half under. I just don't. I think you look at that last week's game between Seattle and New Orleans. Seattle had a lot of short fields. And you look at Arizona, they play at the slowest pace in the league. And both of these teams are run heavy. And I just don't expect a lot of points in this matchup. So I think if the play I'm probably going to touch is the first half under 21 and a half, I think that can get there. So that's probably where I'm going with this one.
I think Raheem's starting to get a little nervous about these full games and missing field goals, running them back for touchdowns at the end. I don't blame you. That's how I feel about my Ravens most of the time. Speaking of, we've got big games coming up this weekend. We'll get to the Ravens-Chiefs game in just a second. The Bucks and the Eagles. The Eagles, of course, they broke our heart on that Rams plus 3.5 last week. Now they're laying 3.5 on the road at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These are 2 teams a lot of the public obviously loves. Not only Philly for obvious reasons, reigning champions, the Bucks. I'm surprised how public the Bucks became this year to win the division, certain games. Raheem, to you, which of these public teams would you be willing to either lay or take points with?
I actually hate both of these teams. No,
Fade the public. Fade the public.
No, it's not about fading the public for me. I think you have 2 of the luckiest teams in the league. And, you know, a lot of Philadelphia Eagles fans are going to criticize me because I've been saying this for weeks. But for the 3rd straight game, you essentially win the game because you have a red zone turnover. Let's go back against the game against the Dallas Cowboys. Miles Sanders, they're inside the 10-yard line with a chance to score. He fumbles it. Let's go the following week. Travis Kelce, he has the ball in his hands at the 1-yard line about to score, drops it. It turns into an interception. And this is in the 4th quarter. Then you go last week. The Los Angeles Rams, they have 2 field goals blocked and 1 blocked return for a touchdown, which gets them the cover. So the Philadelphia Eagles could legitimately be 0-3 right now, or they could be 0-3 against the spread as well. And it's just, you know, they're just fortunate to catch these breaks. You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Every single game this season, they've had a game-winning drive. Like, at some point in time, it just has to – you have to get some regression. You know, you look at our guy, Baker Mayfield, incredible quarterback, but this is a guy who is in the top 5 in turnover-worthy throw percentage and doesn't have a turnover. Like, how? Like, how does that happen? So I despise both of these teams. Both of them are like the luckiest teams in the league, and I would love to fade them both. But unfortunately, they're playing against one another. And with that said, I think you got to go with the Eagles here. If this line gets to 3, I'm going to be all over the Eagles because you look at this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, they're bombed out and depleted. Everybody's in the hospital. We know about all the guys on the offensive line who was banged up. They really couldn't block the Jets in the second half of that game. And now Mike Evans is missing this game. So, Tristan Wirth, he did practice. He was limited this week. Chris Godwin was limited. But as a whole, I think this is a banged up roster. And the last thing you want is a banged up offensive line going against the Eagles. So if this number gets to 3, I'm all over the Eagles.
JJ, before you jump in, I want to ask if Raheem feels this way, and JJ, you could pick up on these stats. Philly, 1-3 against the spread against the NFC South, 1-3-1 against the spread in games following their clash with the Rams. Baker Mayfield, 8-4 straight up and against the spread in his career against the NFC East, including 3-1 straight up and against the spread against the Eagles. Baker also 13-6 against the spread against opponents with a winning record over 600. So, any of those stats entice you?
All right, I'll jump in on this. Nobody loves Baker Mayfield more than me. So, Ariel, you kind of prefaced this conversation by discussing the public's love for the Buccaneers. Well, I'm one of those folks. I took them to win the division. I bet them alternate wins at 11.5, and yeah, I have a NFC ticket on them, and I have a Super Bowl ticket on them. I hate this spot for the Buccaneers. Absolutely, positively hate this spot for the Buccaneers because Raheem hit on a lot of the injuries that they are bringing into this particular game. Not having Mike Evans is problematic. Having issues on the offensive line is problematic. Philadelphia starting to find themselves from an offensive standpoint in the second half of that Rams game. They're getting A.J. Brown involved. They're getting Devontae Smith involved. Now, for someone that has all of this Tampa Bay liability in his portfolio, it's kind of fascinating, Ariel. I bet against him in week 2 against the Houston Texans. I bet against him in week 3 with the New York Jets.
You're hedging yourself.
No, I look at the number and, I kind of act accordingly. You're going to win. You're going to lose games over the course of the year. I don't like this. I don't want it to be a part of our Ringer 107. If I had to make a play on the game, I'm with my guy Raheem. I just don't like where Tampa is going into this game. And I thought this would be a game at the beginning of the year where you'd say, I'm all over Tampa. They might have had a loss. They might have had a chip on their shoulder. Remember, they smoked the Eagles last year. I'm taking that game and throwing it completely out the window because Philadelphia had like half of their team missing. Half of their team was missing in that game. It was like in September, October, early last year. I think the Eagles get a little revenge here. If I had to play it, and I am not, Philadelphia's decided.
It's so funny. That's actually the last game that Philadelphia lost where Jalen Hurts was healthy. Like, the only other game they lost after that was the Washington game, and he got knocked out of the game.
When he got knocked out of the game with the concussion.
Yeah,
Crazy.
so I kind of feel like, and I don't really weigh, like, revenge spots, like, heavily, but, Tampa's been a house of horrors for this Eagles team in the Jalen Hurts era.
Oh, of course. They lost the playoff game. They lost last year. Excellent point, Raheem.
And now this is a time where Philadelphia is coming in healthy, and Tampa is banged up. And I feel like this is a spot where they just want to lay the smack down. So, maybe this should be a Ringer 107 play. I mean, we'll see what else we have, but this might be one to where it's like you might have to you have the motivational edge and you have the injury edge. So maybe this is one we pick.
A lot of injuries this week that we're going to have to account for, especially in Ringer 107. I mentioned in the group chat earlier, I said between quarterback changes, injuries, I am very scared for week 4. For this game, the only 2 things I would say from a prop perspective, Eagles have been the best defense in the league against tight ends. My only fear is that we're kind of lacking receivers in Tampa, so maybe K-Dotton has to pick up some slack, but they do succeed the Eagles a lot against tight ends, so be careful of K-Dotton. The Bucs do allow the 4th most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks, so you could look to Jalen Hurts getting on his feet a bit. They do play better Tampa against the run, so Saquon, maybe don't look at the over rushing yards. What you can look at is his over receiving yards, where the Bucs do struggle against pass catching back. So those are a few prop notes that you could look at for going into that game. We all know that my whole season pretty much is going to live or die based on this coming week. I've been saying since the Ravens lost in week 3 that they were going to come out with a vengeance and the Chiefs game was going to be their Super Bowl. I'm very nervous. Madubuike is going to be out. They're worried it's a very long-term neck injury to Madubuike, who's one of their best pass rushers. Kyle Van Noy is also banged up, another pass rusher. They just lose to the Lions, now having to go to Arrowhead. You lose to the Bills, you lose to the Lions. You really can't lose those 3. I said if the Ravens came out winning 2 of those, that'd be a massive success. But to lose all 3 would be ginormous. The line did move against the Ravens, which I figured after the loss to the Lions. It was -3 with the Ravens on the road at Arrowhead. Now -2.5. Ravens still road favorites. JJ, how surprised were you to see the Ravens as road favorites in Arrowhead?
I'm not surprised, Ariel, because Kansas City has not looked the part over the first 3 weeks of the year. And let's be perfectly honest. The Giants had every opportunity for 3 quarters in that game to go and snake it from Kansas City, but because they were so inept from an offensive standpoint, they couldn't go and take it. And I'm not going to get nuts about Tyquan Thornton making some big plays or Patrick Mahomes taking a ball away from Bobby Okereke. I expected Baltimore to be favorites. Now, you mentioned those injuries for the Ravens defensively, which I grossly underestimated going into their matchup against the Detroit Lions, where Detroit had a brilliant game plan. They were physical. They hit you in the mouth. It was Gibbs. It was Montgomery. It was efficient Jared Goff, and they were able to go and have success. I don't think this Chief offense at this stage in the game has the sort of firepower that Detroit is going to go and bring to the table. This is a show-me game for the Kansas City Chiefs. You beat the Giants last week. Great. Twofold here. Are you going to be able to expose Baltimore's defense in the way that Detroit exposed it a week ago? Number 2, Kansas City defensively. All right, you found some success. You shut down Malik Neighbors. Russell Wilson looked like a 40-year-old quarterback and threw a couple of picks. Different beast with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, who is still ticked off and pissed about that fumble he had. I like
fumbles. Let's plural. Let's make them plural. Fumbles throughout the season.
Well, maybe Ariel, the great Tom Coughlin, needs to make a visit to Baltimore Ravens camp facility, the whole deal, and have a little spiel with Derrick Henry like they did with Tiki Barber a long, long time ago. But
just bring in the sticky stuff. Who cares?
You want sticky stuff like the baseball players. Okay. I'm going to make you happy, though, and I'm not trying to kiss your, your team's rear end, but I'm going to do it. I'll take the Ravens. I think they're the right side in the game. I think they're the better team. I'll lay 2.5.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything with this game. Well, they just announced that Xavier Worthy, he has been practicing, and he's on track to play. I just don't like what I saw from the Ravens on Monday night. I mean, obviously, I don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to capitalize on it with Isaiah Pacheco. I don't know if that – I mean, the Chiefs can't really run the ball. So it's tough there. But I think with Xavier Worthy back, maybe you get another wrinkle. I mean, you saw Thornton the other night. You add, Xavier Worthy to that, and maybe this offense is a little bit better. So I'm just not seeing any value. I think the line is right where it should be. At Ravens -2.5, that's exactly where I have it.
Don't you guys get the sense that this is going to be a very public dog, Raheem, specifically after what people saw from Baltimore on Monday night? Yeah, like, hey, Kansas City 2.5, 8.5, no brainer. Kansas City outright at home. No, I feel like the public is going to be on the Chiefs in this spot. That's just my gut.
I don't get that sense. I think this is probably a game where maybe you get equal action because I think a lot of people know that the Chiefs aren't that good this year. So it's just like, I really want to see where this goes. Like, I think there might be some books who have this at 3. There might be some books that have this at 2.5. Now, maybe when Xavier Worthy is officially announced in, we'll see where it goes. But I could easily see it being evenly matched. I just don't know.
So I'm actually looking at the splits right now on one site. Again, it's very early in the week. Public action comes in mostly on Sunday. The Ravens are getting most of the love on -2.5, 85% handle, 71% of bets. We'll see how that moves as we get to Sunday. It is interesting. And I think at some point people feel the Ravens have to win a big game but also it gives me the same vibes as the Bears opening up as home favorites against the Cowboys. The Cowboys are a way more public team than the Bears. I jumped on the Bears when it went to +1.5 because there's clearly a reason that last week they opened as a home favorite against a public team like Dallas. The Ravens opening up as 3-point favorites on the road at Arrowhead stood out to me. It's similar when you have a quarterback in his first week. You say, okay, first week quarterback under center. He's a new QB. Usually the whole team comes behind them, rises above, and they do really well the first week and bad the second week. Well, I think when there's a defensive hole, you see that they struggle the first week without a Matabike, without a Kyle Van Noy. Now it's week 2 without those 2 players. I think they'll make the right adjustments. And to Raheem's point, the Chiefs are pretty one-dimensional. They're not great at running the football with just Isaiah Pacheco. They're going to have to throw. And that's where the Ravens had a little bit more success, was in the passing game as opposed to stopping the run, which they've been the worst run D in football the first 3 weeks of the year. As a Ravens fan, I will say, that's so Ravens. This is exactly what will happen. They're going to win this game. They're going to make everyone talk about them again because they're going to look like Super Bowl champions for some reason. Then they get a middle part of the season that's a little easier. The end of the season's most of the division. They'll do pretty well, and then they'll lose in the divisional round of the playoffs. But at least they beat the Chiefs. At least they beat the Chiefs. That's what Ravens fans... Oh, God. It pisses me off. But I am on Ravens.
This is what I'm looking for.
What?
I actually want the Ravens to lose this game.
Oh.
Hear me out.
No, I know what Raheem is going to say here. I know exactly where you're going. You want to buy in on
You want to
them.
fire the DC. You want to fire Zach Orr.
Forget about that, Ariel. He wants to get AFC North futures. He wants to get AFC tickets. He wants to get Super Bowl windows after they go 1-3. Is that correct, Raheem?
Exactly.
See, I know you too well.
I did it last year. I got the Ravens 10-1 to win the Super Bowl. They blew it.
I think whoever loses this game, you almost need to be looking at their futures. If Kansas
Automatically,
City,
I agree.
Yeah, Kansas City loses this game. Like right now, Kansas City is -220 to miss the postseason. They lose this game, you're going to get a -150, -175, maybe even better. So I think that's how I want to approach this game. I don't want to
make. Hold on a second. You mean to make the postseason, right, Raheem?
Yeah, to make the postseason. They're -220.
Just making sure I heard that right.
Yeah, they're -220 to make the postseason right now. So I'm looking to get a bargain after one of these teams loses this week. Now, hopefully it's not a tie, but I just want somebody to lose, and then I can just buy in on our futures.
Oh boy, I will warn you. Being a Ravens futures backer is no fun. No fun at all. But I understand. I did that last year. I bet the Ravens 10-1 after they lost, what was it, game 3 of the season?
The Raider game?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was my birthday. Thanks for ruining my 30th birthday, Ravens. Appreciate you so much. Let's move on to the 4 o'clock slate. Again, we have another game here. Indianapolis Colts, Los Angeles Rams. We talk about scheduling spots all the time. If you want to find a team that has the best scheduling situation here, it's the Colts at +3.5 against the Rams team that just had back-to-back East Coast games in the early 1 p.m. Eastern time window. Now they're back home. I know they're 3.5-point favorites at home. JJ, I like the Colts here at +3.5.
We're going heads up here, Ariel, and I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop with the Indianapolis Colts, and I know Indiana Jones has been the talk of the league. I know the Colts have been incredibly well coached and well schemed. I think you're getting an angry, ticked off, fired up Los Angeles Rams team. A team that had absolutely no business losing that game to the Philadelphia Eagles, but found a way to screw it up over the final quarter and a half. Daniel Jones has played brilliantly. He had a great game against Denver, and that's a really good defense. He lit up the Miami Dolphins, not a great defense. He lit up the Tennessee Titans, clearly not a great defense. I'm not going to freak out about the scheduling spot here. These guys are flying first class. They're back in their homes. They're getting a little extra R&R back in the LA spas over the last day or two. I think the Rams will be fine in this particular spot. This is a show-me game for the Colts. Go and show me against a team that has the potential to go and win the NFC that you can go on the road and be right there with a big dog. I am skeptical that they can do that. I think this is the humbling that is inevitable for this Indianapolis Colts team, and I'm going to be here for it. So
I don't know if I can forgive the Rams so quickly. They don't deserve my money.
I'm going right back to the well here. I'll take them. I'm laying 3.5. This is actually a play that I'm going to advocate for the Ringer 107, but I'm not getting your blessing. So there you go.
Raheem?
Look, this is a tough week. Like, I'm not just going to just force plays this week. I just think this week is extremely tough. And when you look at this matchup, for me, it's can the Colts protect Daniel Jones? Because the Rams have a ferocious pass rush. But the thing we saw in the second half of that game against the Eagles, secondary is garbage. It's absolutely garbage. Like, they can't guard anybody. And I think the pass rush is making up for the fact that they can't guard anybody. And I think if the Colts can keep Daniel Jones healthy, there's a real chance that they can win this game outright. So I'm struggling with that. And then, the Rams have some injuries, two guys on the offensive line. This is one I really need to think about a little bit more now. This got steamed up to about 49.5 on the total. I think like at one point I thought this was an over, but I think you kind of need to be looking under at some point, because I do think the Rams might be able to get to Daniel Jones a little bit. We know about the Rams, their red zone struggles, which is a big reason why they lost last week. I think 49 might be a tad too high, so I would probably lean under here.
Okay, and under I would look at too is Jonathan Taylor under his receiving yards. The Rams allow the least receiving yards per game to running backs this season. I'm going to keep my eye on there. I saw it was set 15.5 earlier. I think I looked at that yesterday. Sunday Night Football, before we get to break and we get to more props. Green Bay Packers at the Dallas Cowboys. Steam on the Packers, -5.5 to -6.5. Packers on the road at Jerry World. Total drop 48.5 to 47.5. Raheem, I've got a stat for you. You mentioned first halves earlier. When playing in the first half of a season, home dogs of at least 7 points have gone 19-1-2 against the spread over the last 3 seasons. Dallas first half come out the gate a little strong, and then their secondary blows it in the second.
Look, this line was Packers -3.5 at one point. It was like 2.5 at some point. The Packers are going to take my Cowboys into the deep waters and drown them. They're going to absolutely step on this team. This line is 7. I have it at Packers -10. That's where my model has this at. And you look at this Cowboys team, there's just so many injuries. CeeDee Lamb is out with the high ankle sprain. So that hurts them there. You look at the fact that the offensive line is banged up. They're going to be missing some guys over there. Trayvon Diggs didn't practice. Deron Bland, we don't know if he's coming back. Like, I just don't know how the Cowboys are going to protect Dak Prescott. I really don't see it. Like, this pass rush is absolutely ferocious. I think you may be even getting a bargain because, the Packers lost last week against the Browns. So I think you kind of have to lay it with the Packers.
Yeah, listen, I can't make the case for the Cowboys as much as I want to, Ariel, because we know how this game is going to profile on Sunday night, just like the Kansas City Giant game a week ago. Everyone's going to have Green Bay in their tees. Everyone's going to have Green Bay in their money line parlay, and it's going to be that last leg. So in theory, that should be one that everybody's sweating out. Raheem hit on no CeeDee Lamb, a defense that couldn't stop the three of us, a defense that may not have Mr. Bland, and it's an angry, ticked-off Packer team based upon what happened the week prior against a Cleveland team that has been far more spunky than maybe people thought going into the year, specifically on the defensive end. This just reeks of a get-right game for Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, and you throw in the fact that it's angry, ticked-off Micah Parsons, who is having his homecoming to Dallas, and he's a showman, and he's going to look to go and put on a show. I hate it because these are the sort of plays, Ariel, I never want to make because you're
and
siding
the Survivor
with all of
people,
America.
all probably on Green Bay.
There's some better choices with the Survivor.
Yeah, it's definitely some better
in Western New York where you got to lay 16.5 against the crummy New Orleans Saints. But be that as it may, this is one where I'm not going to get cute. I tried to get cute last week with the Giants, and then I had to sit there and watch the Giants for 3.5 quarters and said, oh my God, why would I do such a thing? I am not going to make that mistake again. Packers, double digits, not overthinking this one. Let's go.
Packers -13.5 is +200. And I think
like that.
That's one I can get on board with. I mean, when you look at this Cowboys team, and I know CD got hurt halfway midway through the game. They only scored 14 points last week against the Bears, and they were missing, half of their secondary. So it would shock me if the Cowboys went out there and scored 21, 28 points or so. And I think that's what they're going to need to keep up with this Packers team. So I think that look, Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards against this team. Like, look, if the Cowboys go out there and cover, take my money.
I am very nervous for this Sunday night football game between the Packers and the Cowboys, just because the Cowboys did make Caleb Williams look like an absolute MVP last week. We know Caleb Williams isn't that good. I don't trust their secondary. I don't mind the stat about first halves. Maybe the Cowboys come out strong knowing that they want to get a little revenge themselves with their best defensive player, Micah Parsons, leaving them. Oh, boy. Teaser, if anything, for me on the Green Bay Packers, which seems very public.
Yes.
For our podcast audience, we are going to take a break here. We did just cover a lot of big games for the Sunday slate. We covered Thursday Night Football. Make sure to check that out. For our YouTube audience, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like, all the above. It helps a lot, and we absolutely love that you guys are here on our YouTube channel, checking us out here on the Ringer Sports Gambling Podcast. Time for props. Props for the Sunday slate. I mentioned some for Thursday already. I'm going to see what the guys think about some of the props that stood out to me the most going into Sunday. Starting with the Detroit Lions, taking on those Cleveland Browns that we just talked about. The Browns have allowed bottom 5 in passing touchdowns allowed to quarterbacks this year. Jared Goff is over 1.5 passing touchdowns at -110. JJ, does that entice you?
So the reason I like this one, Ariel, is Cleveland's defense is going to be so hyper-focused on the two-headed rushing attack of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery that if you kind of go all out to sell out on the run, it could lead to Jared Goff getting an easy one to Laporta, hitting Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like this one. I think Cleveland could be spunky in this matchup. Emotional letdown for the Lions after a big Monday night game. Short week for the Lions. This is a little bit of a stinker, if you ask me. But as far as 2 touchdown passes, I think we get home. I'm in on Goff.
I don't like this one. And the big reason why is because when I look at Jared Goff against the Ravens put no pressure on him. And it felt like Jared Goff got to his first read every single time. I don't know if that's going to happen against Cleveland. And I'm looking at this total at 44.5. I think this really has under potential, major under potential. Like, I could just see a game in which there's just not a lot of points. I mean, they held Cincinnati.
You thinking a little bit of a letdown spot for both teams after 2 big games?
I would say more so a less letdown spot for Detroit. But I look at, to me, this Browns defense, they're for real. They held the Bengals to 17 points. And if you ask me, yeah, Joe Burrow, and to me, that offense is, people say they don't have a good offensive line, but I just think that, Joe Burrow is just as good as any quarterback in this league. So I just can't, it's tough for me to get here.
Well, they embarrassed Love last week. Oh, my goodness, did they embarrass Love. He was terrible. Terrible in the game. But I think you get
at least the Browns know how to sign some of their best defensive players to big contracts. Sorry, Jerry.
Cowboy fans.
Sorry, Jerry. The Ravens, they signed their quarterback to a big contract, and that's why Lamar Jackson, he is obviously big-time MVP, loves to run the football. Last week, he disappointed me. Last week, Lamar looked hesitant to run. Last week, it looked like he kept trying to wait for plays to open up. He ran, then he hesitated, and he kept getting sacked or hit behind the line of scrimmage. Now he's getting a Chiefs defense that has allowed the second most rush attempts per game to quarterbacks this season. Lamar's rush attempt prop, 7.5, Raheem. What do you think?
So he's had 6 rush attempts against Buffalo, 2 against Cleveland, and 7 against Detroit. I'm guessing that they opened this at 7.5 for a reason. So I'm going to roll with you. I'm going to trust you.
I'm riding with this one too, Ariel. And the reason I'm riding with this one is you're coming off a loss. It's an instinct of Lamar Jackson in these big games. Hey, I bring a skill set to the table that not a whole lot of other quarterbacks can go and give you on a particular Sunday, and that's making plays with his legs. You mentioned the Nuggets with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's a big day for Mr. Jackson on the ground. So, yes, endorsement.
No hesitation. Lamar Jackson, run the football. Other side of the ball, Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes, his pass attempts prop, 34.5. Raheem, we said earlier that they're pretty one-dimensional, hard to run the football with just Isaiah Pacheco. Mahomes over 34.5 pass attempts. Does that back up what we were saying?
It definitely backs up what we're saying. And also, you got to consider that they are playing a Ravens offense, which pushed the pressure on you. So, obviously he's had 39 passing attempts against the Chargers. He had 37 against the Giants. I think we see the same thing here. So I like this one.
So I'm not getting on board with this one, Ariel. Number one, you got to lay the line as 130, which to me is never ideal. And I think Kansas City, at least in the opening outset of this game, is really going to try to establish running the football. Now, are they going to have success? That remains to be seen. But I think that is going to be a major point of emphasis after what.
But if they're playing from behind the Chiefs.
Perhaps, but what if this is a tight game and all of a sudden opens up later on? Again, I don't have to like every single one of these, and I'm getting minus 130
yes,
on
you
this.
do.
No, I don't. I'll pass on. This is an out for me. If I had to play it, I would go under.
JJ, I've got an under for you then. Panthers running back Chuba Hubbard, under 56.5 rushing yards. The Pats, second least rushing yards per game allowed to running backs this year.
Oh, I'm on board with this. Totally on board with this. And you're going to notice a theme when we get to the Ringer 107 involving this particular matchup. I don't like Carolina at all in this spot. I don't know how Carolina is going to have success running the ball in this particular game. I think there's going to be a margin win for the New England Patriots. Sorry, there's a little bit of a tease for later on. You can't get me on board there. You can get me on board. Who the hell am I kidding? I can't see Hubbard getting over 57. Under, yes, Ariel, let's go.
Raheem?
I have no opinion on this one.
Okay, then I'll get you one more on a bigger player. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert to go over his 33.5 pass attempts against a Giants D that has allowed the third most pass attempts per game at just under 40 a game. Giants are home dogs, I know that, but the Chargers go west to east. Justin Herbert over pass attempts?
I like this one just because you saw a difference in the Chargers offense this year. I mean, they've become a team that passes more than they run by far. They probably have one of the highest pass run splits in the league. And going up against a pass funnel defense like the Giants, I think they're going to pass all over this team. So I like this one.
Listen, that's been the calling card for Herbert and the Chargers. And Giants secondary, low key, has not been particularly good. It has not been particularly good. So whether it's McConkey, Quentin Johnson, this newfound love with Keenan Allen, I guess the only thing that would scare me a little bit, Ariel, is if this game gets out of hand. Are you a little concerned about hitting that over 33.5 pass attempts if this ends up being a Chargers rout?
Absolutely. That is definitely the concern, being 6.5-point favorites at the Giants. I guess it's a matter of if you feel the Giants can cover and keep this game close or not.
And my feeling is they cannot. That's a little concerning.
Mr. New York, New York. I'm just, you know what? You're
kind of done with the Giants. I know they got a new quarterback, but I'm kind of salty after taking them in week 1 and then after doing it again in week 3. It's not been pleasant.
New quarterback, Jackson Dart, under center for the Giants this week. Time of possession can also play a factor on if you could get the over on that Justin Herbert pass attempts prop. We are going to do our, we're Bodega Locks and Ringer 107. You don't want to miss us making our best predictions, fighting over which sides we should be on coming up next. We're going to take a break for our podcast audience, so stay here. YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like. We really love it, and we appreciate it, and we can't wait to hear if you guys agree or disagree with us here for Ringer 107.
The Ringer Gambling Show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's one of the biggest weeks in sports, and FanDuel is turning it into a full-on celebration. Introducing FanDuel Boost Fest, where every day from September 25th to 28th brings you a 50% profit boost on the biggest matchups in football, baseball, golf, and more. So there's so much good stuff going on this week. We have the Ryder Cup, Bethpage, Team USA, top heavy. Can they take down the Europeans at one of the hardest golf courses in the world? You got Ravens Chiefs. You got an interesting Rams Colts game. and the final week of the baseball season. A lot to like. However you play, that 50% profit boost is ready to go every day during Boost Fest. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com/gamblers to jump into Boost Fest, where the games are big and the boosts are bigger. Must be 21 plus and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut.
Ringer 107 time. We're going to make our 5 bets for the weekend, and we're going to lock them in. See if we could hold on to first place. We're in first place here at the Ringer. Bodega, we got Bodega Locks. And Bodega Locks with Ringer 107 brought to you by FanDuel. Pick'em contest all football season between us, Sal and Abundo, Fantasy Guys, Bill Simmons, and House and Shell. So let's get to our Bodega Locks Week 3 picks. Raheem, you go first.
Let's go with the Patriots. And, a big reason why is because that Carolina win last week was just super fluky. Yes, they won 30-0. I'm so glad that there's no hardcore Carolina Panthers fans, because I know I would be hearing it today. But you watch that game and you look at the box score. It's one of the most misleading box scores of the year by far. Atlanta, they outgained them in first downs. They outgained them in yards. They outgained them in yards per play. 5 yards to 4.7. Passing yards, 200 to 114. Rushing yards, 131 to 110. So you just look at this Panthers team, it just felt like they just won with smoke and mirrors. You had a couple of missed field goals. You had some turnovers. Meanwhile, you look at the New England Patriots. Last week, they were inside the 5-yard line twice and fumbled twice. They have 5 turnovers. I think if you get any turnover regression, the Patriots should win this one going away. And then if you look at the Carolina Panthers, they were getting blown out by Jacksonville. They were getting blown out by the Cardinals and managed to come back. So I just think this is the spot where the Patriots, they put the stomp down and they step on this team. So I'm going to lay the 5.5 with the Patriots.
Yeah, this was one I was going to suggest. Full-fledged endorsement, Raheem, one of my favorite 2 plays of the week. Carolina, Atlanta, too. Remember, division game on the road. Atlanta has given you plenty of stinkers over the years in Carolina, and I think those concerns on that Carolina offensive line are going to be incredibly problematic against a good New England front. And I can't see New England turning the ball 5 times like they did a week ago. So I'm on board with New England. That was going to be one of the 2 I was going to suggest. Ariel, for the one I want to really bang the table on, Las Vegas. Chicago opened up as a 1.5-point favorite. Vegas is now at either -1 or -1.5. I think it is a good buy low spot with Vegas. They're back at home.
I agree.
Everybody now is buying the Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams hype. I want to remind everybody, they just torched and smoked one of the worst secondaries and one of the worst defenses in the league. Now we get Vegas back at home. They're a small favorite. Brock Bowers a little healthier in this game. Can I entice the 2 of you to get on board with Vegas?
This was one that I was going to give out as well. I know the Cowboys made Caleb Williams look great. We're selling high. Don't forget that the Bears are 4-14 in the month of September. The Raiders averaged just under 6 yards per play. Geno, 19 of 29 for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions finally. And Javonte Williams is running really well. So I know that was good for Javonte Williams was running really well last week when facing the Bears. You could run the football on the Bears. You could throw the football against the Bears. I am not high on the Bears just because of one good game last week. So I am all in on you giving out the Vegas Raiders. Right, Raheem?
I'm not crazy about this one. And I think it's more so to do with...
You were shaking your head. I thought you were in agreement. You were like nodding.
And I was listening. I think I understand the perspective. I do. I really, really understand it. And I think you're going to be on the sharp side. My problem is I think the Raiders could be one of the 5 worst teams in football.
Wow, you're that low on the Raiders. Really?
Yeah, I think they could really be bad. And that's what I'm scared of. I'm scared
the Bears are much better?
I think they are better.
Interesting. See,
But
I'm not sure about
I understand
that.
your sentiment. I really think you're going to be on the sharp side. I think all the sharps are going to be on the Raiders. But for me, this is a stay away from me, just because I think if the Raiders are what I think they are, then the Bears win. And then I don't know where's the bottom on the Raiders? Like, because
See, I don't think they're bottom five bad. I don't. I think they have too much of a floor with their head coach. Their quarterback is going to ride the roller coaster. That's what he does. I mean, we saw him as bad as can be against the Chargers. We saw him really, really productive in week 1 against New England. Listen, you stole my Patriot pick, which I'm happy about because I'm glad that we're a team here, Raheem. This is good.
Yeah.
You're in on the Pats.
Honestly, you're on the sharp side. So
All right, so you're not going to talk us out of it. You're going to
Well,
say
don't we three of us pick one, then we
Correct.
argue over the last two.
But I mean,
correct. So I'm going Raiders. That's it.
He asked me my opinion. You asked me my opinion. So I just gave it to you.
You were nodding your head, or else I would have shut you up.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Ariel. So he's in on Patriots. Good. I'm in on Raiders. Now it's your turn to make a pick, and we can't interfere with this one. So this is all you.
I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm going to give out Ravens -2.5. I know that JJ, I think, is not in agreement with me.
No, I
you
said
did?
I'm on board.
Oh, okay.
I like the Ravens in this spot. I'm on board.
The Ravens, I know, looked terrible last week. This is their Super Bowl going into a relatively easier stretch coming up. The Ravens did have to play without Matabike and Kyle Van Noy, two of their best pass rushers last week. However, it's the second week now that they can make those adjustments and fix those holes defensively, to which the Chiefs are not as multidimensional of an offense and versatile as the Lions are. The Chiefs, their run game doesn't really exist the way that the Lions does, so they're going to have to throw the football. Don't get me wrong, there will be some deep balls allowed to the Chiefs. The Ravens offense, we've seen what it can look like at full force. If the Ravens can look the way they did in the first half against the Bills, against the Chiefs, which we very well know they're still capable of, they could throw a lot of looks at the Chiefs. And this is like, as a Ravens fan, I know this moment to get their win at Arrowhead is ginormous. And the book is telling you, like, for the first time, the Ravens haven't been favored against the Chiefs, nonetheless, at M&T Bank Stadium by more than 1.5 points. So they're going to be 2.5, 3-point favorites on the road at Arrowhead. The book's telling you something, and I think we need to buy into it. So Ravens -2.5 for me, guys.
I endorse. I know Raheem has some skepticism, but hey.
Okay, so it was Raheem that was against.
It's so funny because, honestly, you could name 14 sides this week, and I'd be skeptical on everything. I just think
this is a good transition. Okay, so we each gave out our 3, but this is now the problem, Ariel and Raheem. We have to find 2 more games that we at least can be simpatico on.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, Raheem, I'll give you an example. We can't go with the Ram-Colt game because me and the prop queen already heads up on it. So that's out. So we need
Well, I feel like we're a little bit upset about the Rams still.
Yeah, but that's when I go back to the well because I'm a sucker. You understand? Like, that's why I do
I've got one we haven't mentioned yet on the show. Jacksonville Jaguars +3.5.
Ooh.
So the Niners have to play on a short week next week against the Rams in Thursday Night Football. The Niners rushed for 77 and 73 yards the last 2 games, one-dimensional with a backup quarterback. Backup quarterbacks like Mac Jones, injured team, first week. Usually they can pick up that win, but now it's a second week. And I think the injury luck is going to run out on the Niners, and it's going to be this week against the Jaguars catching points.
So I like this one, Raheem.
Yeah.
Here's the only, I guess, cause for concern. Are we sure it's going to be Mac Jones?
Well, Brock Purdy did practice.
Right.
For me, it's not even like, I don't know how much of an upgrade Brock Purdy is, and I know that sounds crazy, with this current roster. When you look at all of the injuries, I think that's what this play is.
But if you're on a short week against your division rival, wouldn't you be smart then to rest your quarterback for Thursday Night Football if he's already banged up?
I mean, he's been practicing, so it's like,
but he's out there. I don't know.
Warren Sharp always talks about the assumption of rational coaching. We don't know what's rational here. So, I mean, it could be rational to rest him, or he could have had 2 weeks off and he's fine. I think the play for Jacksonville is to say, look, this San Francisco team is just so banged up. They lose Nick Bosa. You got a bunch of other guys injured. So let's fade this 49ers team because they just don't have enough. And I think that's the mindset of it, regardless of Purdy or Mac Jones plays.
And
Do
I
we
like what I've seen
Jacksonville?
from Jacksonville. I do, actually. I like what I've
I
seen.
like Jacksonville,
They've
but
gone after the quarterback.
let's talk through some other games and then come
That's
back.
fine. So put
Raheem,
it
who
as a
else are you the
possible.
least skeptical on?
Yeah, I like Jacksonville, and you guys got the text message from like 4 a.m. this morning. I text you about Jacksonville, so
All right,
I like
so
it, but I
throw
think
another
we need
game
to
out
talk
there,
through
Raheem.
some other games.
We
Good.
still need two. So Jacksonville is a contender, and
It's a
then give us
maybe.
another.
All right. I told you guys in the chat, and I'll say it for the audience now. This game in Dublin, Ireland scares the absolute crap out of me. Because Aaron Rodgers looked terrible last week against New England. The Steelers looked terrible against New England. They had no business winning that game. They get 5 insane turnovers. But, Raheem, we now have Carson Wentz for the second straight week, and he was amazing last week against Cincinnati. Amazing. It's an upgrade. I would say what you're facing with the Steeler defense, it's not a great Steeler defense. It's not a vintage Steeler defense. But this game just is like, it reeks of stay away. And I saw you guys put it in the chat. I was like, do we really want to get on board with either Minnesota or Pittsburgh?
I just looked at the steam on it from -1.5 to -2.5. Minnesota in Dublin against Pittsburgh. The lines move for Carson Wentz. The line's moving. I just try to read into what the sports book's saying. Looks like sharps are attacking Minnesota.
So I actually like this one. And I probably should have put this one as my first pick, because when I look at these two teams, I see polar opposites. Look, Vikings are first in EPA per play on defense. This Steelers defense is not good this year at all.
Got torched by Justin Fields. Totally.
Yeah, you're talking about a Steelers defense which is 23rd in EPA per play this year. So this is not the Steelers defense of old. And they're 24th in success rate on defense as well, 47%. I think the key is the other side of the ball, though. Aaron Rodgers is washed. Larry Holmes status, flabby and sick. And if you want to go back to last year, these two, the Vikings and the New York Jets played in London.
Oh, Minnesota embarrassed them.
Minnesota
he
embarrassed
came
them.
back and had a chance to win the game late and threw an interception, but he threw a pick six, Van Ginkel, the whole deal. You're right about that.
Aaron Rodgers was 29 of 54, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And now I think he may have worse weapons. So it's
he didn't have Devontae Adams in that game, to be fair.
Yeah,
he didn't.
but he still had Garrett Wilson.
He didn't have a rapport and a chemistry with at any point.
Yeah.
He's got a much better coach. If you remember, that was the fired Robert Sala's last game as coach of the New York Jets, that game in London. They left him in London.
You look at this Minnesota team, only 22% of opponent drives have reached the red zone. And you look at the Steelers, only 44% of the drives have reached the red zone. So it's just like I just don't know what Aaron Rodgers in this offense does against Minnesota. So I almost think the 2.5 is kind of short. And here's the way I look at it. We're taking New England, right?
We are.
And a lot of that is based on how they perform against the Steelers, and they were unlucky.
Not necessarily. For me, it's far more about a Carolina anti-Carolina play.
It's anti-Carolina, but the basis of it is, well, they were unlucky last week, and the benefactor of that luck was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I know.
So I think a lot of this is kind of correlated. I mean, that's just how I process things.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
Everything you guys are saying is completely spot on about Minnesota's defense. The coaching staff is great. It's still Carson Wentz. That's my hesitation, Ariel. For as good as he looked a week
you're a
ago,
KOC guy.
I'm a Brian Flores guy. I know.
You're a KOC guy, and you saw what KOC
but we're getting Tomlin as a dog. Like, this is, he's been so good in these spots.
If the Steelers were at home, this would be the rah-rah Mike Tomlin spot. But I can't say it's a rah-rah Mike Tomlin spot when the Steelers aren't at home.
And they're coming off a win.
It's not a divisional game. It fits none of the angles for Mike Tomlin pushing his team.
I'm just warning everybody now.
Yeah.
If I agree to Minnesota, I am going to be hate texting the two of you. Raheem, you're going to be with me on the show. And Ariel, you're going to be like waking up after Saturday night in New York City saying, can this guy stop texting me at like 10:15 in the morning? I'm trying to get a little sleep in. I don't even want to watch this game. Maybe you get up, maybe you don't.
40.5 total. This game's going to be a low-scoring, boring
I'm
game.
cursing you guys out saying, why did we take the game in Dublin?
Let's move on to the next game.
Wait, I'm going to add
put it
to
as a
it
maybe.
because the Vikings pass D has been top 5 this year, if not top 3.
Yeah.
That's where the Steelers' bread and butter is offensively. The Steelers running the football has, not to say it's been bad, but it's not been great throughout the years. It's been the biggest knock on Mike Tomlin and his recent offenses. If the Vikings are best against the pass, you're defeating the entire Aaron Rodgers narrative of throwing the football, nonetheless in Dublin as a 42-year-old.
Guys, can I throw one at you?
Oh, God.
I expect a no, but it's fine. I'm throwing it at you anyway. Miami Dolphins laying 2.5 against the Jets on Monday night. You knew I was going there. I just have to say, the Jets are not going to have Quincy Williams. The Jets are not going to have Jermaine Johnson. They're probably going back to Justin Fields, which, by the way, I don't know if that necessarily helps their case as far as covering or winning, because I'd feel better about them with Tyrod Taylor, a quarterback. Miami with extra time to prepare. They were right there with Buffalo. Tua, I know he's been awful this year. He's never lost to the Jets. Tua has never lost to the Jets. He's starting at quarterback, and it's a small number. I know it's gross. I understand.
This one's a coin flip for me. What do you think, Raheem?
All right, so I have 2 models. I have one model that puts this at Miami minus 2.3, and I have another model which makes this Miami minus 6.
What's the difference in the model, out of curiosity?
So, actually, I don't want to say it on air, but
all right, that's fine. It's trade secret. I don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah, I don't want to say it on air, but I mean the newer model has a lot more numbers into it, and it's probably a little bit more sophisticated. So I kind of trust that one a little bit more, but I do think you're right. Look, I think if we take Miami here, we could collectively go to the side.
Oh, you guys can mock me for 3.5 hours.
No. Hear me out. If we take Miami here, we could collectively go to the side and hedge by betting Mike McDaniel first coach fired. Because if Miami loses this game, he's getting fired.
I think so too.
The hedge of Mike McDaniel getting fired doesn't help us with our Bodega 107.
I'm just saying. I mean, it helps the listeners who are listening to this, and if they want to tell us,
the point is to help us stay on top of for Bodega Locks on Ringer 107's leaderboard. That's what we need to do. Be on top. That sounds horrible. Forget that I said that. But we need to win. So forget about hedging with your first coach fired stuff. We need to find sides that we agree on. So we've thrown out Jacksonville. We threw out
Minnesota,
and we threw out Miami.
How about Atlanta?
I like Atlanta.
Who's playing quarterback for Washington?
It's a great point.
That's my problem. Michael Penix looked horrible last week.
That's the only thing. He's playing quarterback for Atlanta. Are we benching? I saw props up for Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix.
See, yeah, I don't think he looked as horrible as what was shown last week. I think the biggest thing is that game got away from them. You had 2 missed field goals in the first quarter, and then after a while you're chasing points, and now you're turning the ball over at will. So I just don't think they looked that horrible. I think this is a really winnable game. And JJ, you said it yourself. You bet the Commanders under 9.5 wins. You thought this team was fraudulent. You got a home dog coming off a game in which they lost 30-0 against a divisional opponent. That's the kind of spots in the NFL that you want to take. And the Commanders blew out the Raiders last week.
They did. Listen, I could get behind it. I could totally get behind it. I'm going to be fearful of magical Jaden Daniels coming back and working his magic for Washington. The other thing I don't like, Raheem, I think Atlanta is the play. If I were betting the game, I'd 100% be betting the Atlanta Falcons. I hate that we're not getting the best of this number.
Yeah, I do hate that.
We're getting 1.5. That's not ideal.
And to me, that's why I don't think he's playing.
Because this line has gone down. And
the fact that it's 1.5, it would shock me if he would play. And Terry McLaurin is banged up. I told y'all this week was hard.
All right, I can get on board with Atlanta. All right, so is there any other games you guys want to bring to the table?
Okay.
I think that's it for me.
That's it for me. I'm not going to Giants, Chargers.
The games that we've already agreed upon. New England -5.5, Vegas -1.5, Baltimore -2.5. We've given out the Jags, we've given out Atlanta, we gave out Minnesota, and we gave out Miami.
Do y'all like the pack? Do y'all want to go square?
No.
No.
Go square.
No.
Packers. So
I was gonna say, I would say I like the Chargers probably more than I like the Packers, but I don't want to go near that game because there's the uncertainty of Dort if he actually comes out and plays well.
And this for the listeners. I bet you guys $100 that Bill and House are gonna have the Packers parlay with something.
You keep
That's going to be
that.
one. There's going to be one of their Ringer 107 picks. I guarantee.
We don't do parlays with picks. It's so stupid. You're told that you get 5 picks, and now you're adding a 6th. Like, you're getting less and less likely to hit if you're going to add another team. So it's dumb. We're not parlaying
for us.
anything.
We don't care. We're out on parlays. Proud of you, Ariel. Proud.
Thank you. We're picking 5 teams, and that's the end of it. So who, Raheem, out of the 4 that we threw out there, is the one that you like the most, or the 2 that you like the most? And we'll see if we can all agree.
I'm cool with either one. I mean, we got 3 right now. Well, maybe 4 if you want to include Miami. I know you don't like Miami.
I think it's a toss-up game, but I'll bite the bullet if you guys like Miami.
I mean, my favorites, honestly, were Jacksonville, Minnesota, and Atlanta. Those were my favorite 3.
So I would rank them out of the 4. Jacksonville, which I think is going to make it
okay,
home
so
to
Jacksonville's our 4.
Jacksonville, Miami, Atlanta, and I'm putting the Dublin game last.
I agree more with Atlanta. But if you both like Miami the most, then
you know what? I would prefer that because I'm going to be annoyed enough if the Dolphins go and lose to the Jets, and I don't want to have the Ringer 107 tied into it. So you know what? It's probably...
You mean like me and my Ravens?
Yeah, but at least the Ravens are one of the better teams in the NFL. I know they've played poorly over the first 3 weeks, but Ariel, they're a real football team. My team is not. Versace on the sideline with the pants. Tua throwing the ball to the wrong team. So let's go with Atlanta, because I already have enough invested in the game on Monday night. I'm actually going to the game on Monday night too. So let's stick with it. Let's stick with Atlanta.
Atlanta. We back Atlanta, Baltimore, Vegas, New England, and Jacksonville. All on the spread, against the spread, just so everyone knows. That's our bodega locks of Ringer 107. Ringer 7. Today's Ringer 107 was brought to you by FanDuel. Odds are subject to change. Best bet's coming up in a second. JJ, we mentioned the Giants. You had no interest in taking 6.5 with them. There's no New York team in football that makes you happy for Mr. New York, New York. At least you've got baseball, and those New York Yankees, they clinched the playoff spot. There's a chance that they could clinch the American League East if they potentially win out. There's so many futures out there for both sides, the American League, the National League, certain divisions, MVPs. Where are you finding the most value in the futures market in MLB?
So it's interesting. You know, you've seen the Yankee price for the World Series come down from like the 10-1 range. It's now around plus 650. The division all of a sudden now is in play for the Yankees. They look dead as far as winning the division a couple weeks ago. Toronto has gone into free fall. The Yankees have taken advantage of a soft schedule. Now basically it's one game. Now if they finish with the same record, Toronto wins the division over the Yankees. But Boston has cooperated. Now you're seeing on FanDuel, in case you're wondering, Yankees are a plus 100 to win the AL East. I'm not going anywhere near that. Obviously, my heart is rooting for it. I do have a Yankee 10-1 ticket on them to go to the World Series. So we want to get that home to the window. We at least want to have some hope going into October. I want to look at the National League wildcard race, Ariel. That, to me, is where you have some intrigue. The Mets are at minus 188 to make the playoffs. They don't have a tiebreaker with the Reds. They don't have a tiebreaker with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, I know the Arizona Diamondbacks are a big dog in this game on Thursday, and they're playing the Padres over the course of the weekend. What is the motivation of the San Diego Padres going to be in these games where they can't get home field advantage and they're not going to be able to win the NL West? There might be some value, folks, in getting on board with the Arizona Diamondbacks to go and make the playoffs, knowing the Mets go to Miami. That has been a house of horrors for them. The Marlins are playing some really good baseball. The Mets at minus 188 to make the playoffs. No thank you on that. Arizona's at plus 650. The Reds are at plus 285. I think there's some value with the Diamondbacks at plus 650 here to go and make the playoffs, gang. I do.
The place I'm looking in the Major League Baseball futures market, I'm looking at the San Diego Padres at 14-1 to win the World Series. Their bullpen is the best in baseball. The lineup can kill. They've shown that they are resilient, and they almost won the division. I'm not sold on the Dodgers. I'm not sold on the Brewers, and I'm not sold on the Phillies. If you're gonna find value, that's where your value is with the San Diego Padres, who have a massive chip on their shoulder at 14-1. On the American League side, all the value's been sucked out of the Seattle Mariners. You missed it 3 weeks ago. You could have grabbed them at 12-1 to win the American League. Now where you can find value, the Detroit Tigers. The Detroit Tigers are sitting at close to 10-1 to win the American League. This was a team that was leading the way the entire season. And honestly, as crushed as I'm going to be to lose that plus 360 win the division ticket that should have cash for the Detroit Tigers this year, you're getting value where you couldn't get it for the rest of the season. And I'd rather, if they're going to lose the division, then get hot again for the playoffs potentially, as opposed to being like the Orioles, who won the 1 seed a couple years ago and then lost in the divisional round. So maybe the Tigers now, who have great pitching still, can get a little fire under them if they lose that division towards the end of the season. But I'm just looking for value at this point.
I got to push back on this because, like, the Tigers are in like an all-time collapse. How do you convince people to say, you know what, the last month of the season hasn't mattered?
Well, not even the last month. It's beyond that, Raheem. It's like the last 3 months. They've been to yuck up a 17-game lead with the Guardians is insane. But I guess here's where Ariel's thought process comes in.
Yeah.
Skubal, game 1, best of 3. The problem is going to be, Ariel, they might need Skubal this weekend to go and beat Boston just to get themselves into the postseason. So that kind of goes out the window. The Tigers are a hot mess. To me, they're a hot mess.
I can't believe AJ Hinch let it. Listen, I'm upset. And am I going to bet it? No, because I'm already pissed about my plus 360 ticket. But I'm talking from a value perspective. I can't trust the Guardians. And everyone else, like, the Blue Jays aren't a World Series team. They haven't ever been to me. They're like the Mets for the playoffs for me. A team that their pitching overachieved early. They're going to crash and burn in the playoffs. I don't trust the Yankees because they're home run or bust. If I have to pick a team with value outside the American League, it's the best 1-2 punch outside of the Seattle Mariners, and it's the Detroit Tigers.
So nobody sees value in this Guardians team because from my view, hear me out. From my view, they got rid of the guys who were throwing games and then became one of the best teams in the league.
That's it. It's Clase. God, you don't got to worry about him. Listen, Raheem, for what it's worth, Clase was an absolute zero in the postseason. I mean, anytime you put him in big postseason spots,
it was
Tigers,
my fault.
Yankees last year, Judge and Stanton hitting moonshot home runs. Nobody wants to bite. And listen, this would make me sick to my stomach, and Simmons would be all giddy about this. Red Sox at 19-1 with Crochet and Bayo if they get past the Yankees.
I'm out. No. Nope. I mean, listen, their bullpens looks great. I just don't trust the Red Sox. I don't trust the starting rotation. I don't think it's deep enough. Looking at the lineup.
Well, Roman Anthony being out hurts them a lot. It does.
Yeah. I mean, the Red Sox right now, when you look at just OPS, 23rd in baseball.
Gang, I think I might get my heart broken by saying this. I think the Yankees are going to the World Series. I haven't felt that way all year. It's really hit me over the last week because
they played the White Sox.
No, forget about that. It's more the overall complexion of the American League. It stinks. Like,
it does.
I'm not Toronto, Seattle.
I keep telling everyone the best bet to make is the National League to win the World Series. But they might all kill each other to get there, which is the problem.
I don't know if I'm on board with that, Ariel. I have to see the opponent. But we're going to have a lot of fun here with the baseball. Next week, when we're doing this show, we'll have wild card game 3s if there were any. Then the following week, we'll be kind of diving into all the division series stuff. Exciting. I'm fired up.
I'm very excited for this time because postseason baseball, not only is it the best, it's the best time of year. You've got football, you've got baseball, we got basketball starting up in a month. Hockey has already started some of their preseason. So we got
the WNBA playoffs.
WNBA playoffs.
You have any good ones for us? Well, we got to get the best bets. So
we have to
Ariel,
get the best bets. We'll get to some more next week. Best bets here on FanDuel. Let's start with Raheem. What do you got?
All right, we're going to go WNBA. We're going to go Las Vegas Aces, game 3, -4.5. You guys listen to the Monday show. I did give you guys the Las Vegas Aces to come back and win this series. They were -210, 220. It's now -385. Asia Wilson got back. I think Aces going to the finals. I don't know if we're gonna have a parade again. I was here for the first Las Vegas Aces parade in front of the Cosmopolitan and in front of the Bellagio. I'm hoping we get another one. Obviously, Minnesota Lynx are the favorite, but they should be able to beat Indiana tomorrow. So late of -4.5. You want my football plays? You're gonna have to come back on Sunday.
Ooh, we call that a tease. The two I love in the NFL, the New England Patriots laying the points against the Carolina Panthers, going to be a part of our Ringer 107. And sorry in advance, Ariel, I am taking the Los Angeles Rams laying the 3.5. A little regression coming for Indiana Jones and the Colts. But there's one more I got to throw at you. It is a big weekend at Bethpage Black. And I know that the overall roster might be deeper for the team that plays across the pond, but you're going to have all the loud, obnoxious people like myself surrounding that course. And the ultimate difference is going to be the crowd.
You're doing Ryder Cup and the Miami game?
No, I'm not going to the Ryder Cup. I'm just watching it, and I'm going to be rooting like crazy.
You made it sound like you're going to be a crazy fan at the course watching it.
No. I'm going to have a lot of people in spirit that are going to be channeling John Jastrzemski. That's fine. I'm going to Florida. I'll be watching it, though. USA, boosted on FanDuel. I got it at -145. Rock and roll, Scheffler, DeChambeau, the two best players will end up being the difference. USA. Let's go.
We love that. Go USA. I'll be rooting as a fan. I've got two props for tonight's Thursday night football game. Sam Darnold over 223.5 for his passing yards prop. He has been great passing the deep ball downfield. So Darnold's completed 64% of downfield passes, second highest rate amongst qualified quarterbacks. The Cards have allowed the 12th most deep balls this season, so I think he's going to get some yardage just throwing downfield. Arizona's allowed the second most passing yards per game to quarterbacks. Mac Jones, Bryce Young, and Spencer Rattler all went over their passing yard prop against this Cardinals defense. Sam Darnold is better than most of those quarterbacks. One I didn't name for tonight, the Seattle running back, Kenneth Walker, over 11.5 receiving yards. He's gone over in both primetime games dating back to last year, had 36 and 37. Arizona, 5th most receiving yards per game allowed to running backs. 2 of the 3 number 1 backs to face Arizona this year went over. Christian McCaffrey, Chuba Hubbard, they had at least 39 receiving yards against this Arizona D. So we're going to go with Kenneth Walker over his receiving yards prop tonight. Guys, I'm so glad that I was back. Bodega locks for our Ringer 107. We need to keep it at the top of the leaderboard. Remember, we are at the top, so if there's a show to watch, it's obviously our Ringer Sports Betting Podcast, the Ringer Gambling Show, brought to you by FanDuel. Any last words, guys?
Let's win. Let's win big.
Okay, let's win big. Bodega locks. We're out. Good luck to those bets tonight, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope to see you. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.